Hello everybody, welcome to my review of Batman White Knight Volume 2. This one I had to take a couple runs at this video actually, because there is so much in here that it took a long time to get through the video. It took 25 minutes at my first attempt just to get to this staple. It didn't take long to read. I've read it 5 times now. I got it this morning. I can't stop reading it. It's brilliant. Kind of the same as the last one. Harley Quinn makes an appearance, and her little logo is joining the main logo, and you can tell by this cover. I got the normal cover for this one just because I thought it looked better, and the default cover for episode 3 looks better as well. I can't believe how detailed this is, and I really think Sean Gordon Murphy must have had a blast drawing this. Sadly, he doesn't draw very much Batman in this comic, but unfortunately that's what happens when you buy month to month. So, you know, you're not going to get... This is a building tension story. This is... a lot of people have said it's like kind of a placeholder. I don't feel that. I feel that this is giving you a lot of essential information for the world building. But I do believe that the games are really going to begin in, I'm going to say episode 4. I think that they're going to give Batman some characterization, because they need to establish what the rules are here. There's a lot that's left to the imagination, and we know that we're not dealing with our usual preconceived versions of Batman and the Joker. So there's a lot still to be laid out, and I think they're going to have to do a Batman episode for that purpose. So, bad opening page. It's a bad page, but it's a really bad opening page. Look how much this advert pops. Look how much this page pops. Look how much dialogue there is. It's like... it's not dialogue, it's monologue. And it's like reading a newspaper. There's almost no empty space for the art. This is clever, the Joker silhouette. I don't feel the need to point that out. There are problems with this page. Let's go over them quickly. Firstly, the sheer amount of text, but that doesn't bother me on its own. The fact is that this could have all been said much more concisely. There's also no artistic reason I can find for this, because this is a courtroom, not a prison. Now, you could argue that if he was still in Arkham, because he's only got his thoughts with him, and because it's an oppressive environment, you could argue, oh, the speech bubbles add to that effect. But no, this... Firstly, it messes with the eye line. Your eye wants to do this, this, this. Very simple. Because of the speech bubbles, it's doing this. You know, you get the idea. I wouldn't. And you're ending up in the wrong place. So, it's just... It's badly laid out. I don't really blame Smurf for that, but maybe that's the letterer's fault, but I don't see what was to be gained by laying out this way. And this will benefit from an artist's edition, like an absolute edition, because there's loads of small panels like this. If you look at this, my pen here, I'm using a point. How small this panel is, that could be a poster on its own. Also, it should have been, in my opinion, because the panels show they're not guiding the eye, so you could have put them anywhere, right? Therefore, because you could have put them anywhere, and all the panels are relatively, you know, worth the same real estate, why not make that one as big as that one? You know, I really don't understand about this decision, but hey ho. All the actual speech is good. It's a good speech. It's basically saying, look, I don't understand what the problem is with me. He's abdicating responsibility, right? What he's doing is he's saying Jack Napier is not the Joker, and because he's no longer the Joker, he can't be held responsible for his crimes, and his crimes were minor. Yes, he was a gangster, but he was never anything like a murderer, and Arkham Asylum made him insane, which made him appear worse to the public than he was, and they wanted to categorize him as a super criminal, so that they could deal with him extrajudicially. Now, you can take from that what you will, but I think that he's banking on the fact that because Batman and the police have managed to stop him doing something truly awful, he's like, okay, I'm going to use that to my advantage. But that's my thoughts. Anyway, that's not really review material. So here we go again with the news thing that really bugs me. It's pointless exposition, or it's not pointless, but it's just exposition. But because it's news, it counts as dialogue, right? No, it's just explaining. I have nothing to say about the panel layouts at all. The art is good, it looks nice, pleasing to the eye. That's fine. There's been a lot of undue triggering with this page. People have been triggered by the fact that Smurf has used the Black Lives Matter lady thing, which I think fits perfectly. They've been triggered by this man's use of the word social justice warrior, and they've been triggered by, in the first page he goes on about the gatekeepers. He's saying that the gatekeepers to Gotham, it's a dog whistle of the rich, are they're the ones that are making the crime happen so that they can profit off of it. In other words, pointing out that crime happens. My God. This image here is actually perfect because it was during a protest. This woman walked out from a line of rioters and stood still, thus forcing the police into a really awkward position of she wasn't coming towards them, she stopped, so they'd already sent guys out. It was just a weird situation, and it made a brilliant photo opportunity because look how tall and brave she's standing. Made a really great photo opportunity, but it didn't actually mean anything, It was a nice image, simple as. And that's what this is. The media blew it out of proportion, and that's what this media is doing. They're blowing it out of proportion. It's a nice image, and they're making out like it's more significant than it is. They're also saying that the people of Gotham are rioting. They were rioting about the way Joker was treated because he's been manipulating them, obviously. I don't see what's political about that. Like, the Joker has used every weapon in his arsenal up till now. Politics is as good a weapon as any, Like, why not use politics? The people of Gotham would be rightly aggrieved, and they would be ripe for rioting, wouldn't they? So why not use that if you were a criminal? So here, I've been harsh on Matt Hollingsworth's inking, and I still am, but this is clearly why they hired him. In the nighttime scenes, he does a fantastic job of... I don't understand it. During his daytime scenes, everything looks like washed out and like muddy. But during his nighttime scenes, he can get like 50 different tones of black to burst out at your eye and make the scene really vibrant, but it's a dark scene, which is extremely skillful, but it just means, like, why is the well-lit pages look so bad? And again, that's just my personal taste. So here we have, I hate this version of Harley Quinn. I've always hated her. I'm going to call her Marion because her alias is Marion Drews, according to Smurf, and I don't want to be harsh on Margot Robbie, so Marion. I've always hated the Marion version because she's just a histrionic retard. I mean, like, look at this. It's grotesque. She's behaving like a 6-year-old, but also, like, it's just sick in the head, Just weird. And, like, everything, everything is sex. And even, like, she's super busty and huge hips and the over-sexualized clothing, all that pish, talking about sex constantly. It's just... I've always hated that version of Harley. And so what Sean Gordon Murphy does is he outright in this book says she is not Harley Quinn. Jack Napier, if he's to be believed, has actually no memory of the fact that Harley left and was replaced by another wannabe Harley Quinn because he was so focused on himself and on Batman. So this Harley is, completely thoroughly unlikable. And Smurf, to people like me, he has said, this is not Harley Quinn, literally, which I really liked. So the real Harley comes back, kicks the Marion version in the face, which I found deeply satisfying. But quickly, the meds situation. Joker seems genuinely panicked about the fact his medication has gone flying, and I'm really interested to know, is this just a very, very good act? Is it real medication? If it is real medication, is he just taking it for show? Or is it drugs to help him keep himself in check so that he can appear normal? If he's taking the drugs but not really wanting treated, then that's kind of the same thing as taking like is he taking illegal drugs, or is he taking the medication dishonestly? So I'm really interested to see which way that goes. Not much else to say about that. We're still getting a lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition, a lot of here's what's going on in the world and why. But yeah, this was an entrance. This is how you make an entrance. And the hyenas come back, which I thought was a really fun. And you see Harley kind of rescuing the Joker, and this is a very interesting way of doing this story, because what happens is, by having Harley rescue the Joker, I'll get to this in a minute, he's clearly manipulating her later on, okay? But because she appears as the saviour, and then to the reader she explains to us what's going on, we view her as the authority figure, because he's not giving us any information and she is, and because of the way she enters the scene. So this next scene actually hit me like a truck. Boom! Look at it. It's stunning. I've been doing a lot of clockpunk and steampunk era drawing recently, and this has been a huge influence on me. The drawings of Freeze that Sean Murphy has shared, and I just frickin' love it. I noticed that he's been using this is like a 40s or 50s look to Freeze's gear, which I thought, okay, I can see why you've done that. It looks great, but does it make much sense to, the fact they would have cryotech back then, and surely you would renew it over time, like it's going to get worn out. But anyway, this scene felt very rushed to me and somewhat unnecessary in a lot of ways, but we'll go through it anyway. So Mr. Freeze and Nora I find to be one of the most interesting dynamics in comic books. He's probably my favourite villain. I'm not sure. Maybe Venom from Spider-Man, but Freeze is definitely one of my favourite villains. And Bruce Wayne, as we found out in the last one, is working with Freeze because whatever's wrong with Alfred, I don't know whether it's literally the same disease, but Alfred and Nora could both do with some cryogenic freezing, but obviously Bruce won't freeze Alfred until he is ready to be unfrozen again. Unlike Nora had to be frozen there and then, regardless of the consequences, because she was going to die anyway. Now, Barbara in this, I can't tell whether she's meant to come across as... I think if you were to read this in a bad mood, Barbara would come across like Squirrel Girl, like she's a bit too young. She's meant to be very young in this anyway, so maybe not quite like Squirrel Girl because she's acting her age, but she's really acting her age. And I think if you were to read this in a bad mood, she would be really annoying, but to me, I thought that they went for the whole cute thing, and it worked. She is cute, and kind of endearing in a silly way, and she doesn't understand that these are lab rats, they are not going to have a pleasant time of it. So Bruce then gets Martha'd, because what happens is Freeze, remember I said that technology looks old? Freeze reveals that it's Third Reich technology that Bruce's father helped him with. Now, Bruce is saying that the technology is not ready to be tested on humans yet. Freeze is like, well, I'm going to test it on myself anyway, and then Barbara, rightly, is like, he's already thought of like 50 ways to stop you. He's Batman. I don't think Freeze knows. But he's like, you can't do this. But because he mentions Thomas Wayne, Bruce is like, just takes that moment's hesitation, which means that Freeze, in this really brilliant drawing, kind of splashes himself in this weird, crazy drowning liquid. Basically, it seems to be that if you drown yourself in this stuff, uncryo freezes you. I don't know. So yeah, that happens. He then experiences extremely rapid aging because he froze himself when he was about 30 years old. His body then catches up because of the cryostasis thing. I think that's a little bit weird. Like, surely he would just unfreeze at 30, but I think what they're trying to do is make a ticking clock scenario for Freeze. Like, I think they're trying to make him running out of time. So he's now basically got the body of an 80-year-old, which I don't know what I think of that, but again, this whole scene felt rushed. Like, this should have taken over, like, maybe if these were snapshots of, like, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, the pacing was a bit mad. Like, he literally just aged before our eyes, like, 30 years in a couple seconds. But, you know, hey-ho. But I think it's to give us the ticking clock effect for Freeze, because he's maybe going to do something crazy later on, crazy and out of character, and in order for that to make sense, it has to be because he's being reckless, because he's running out of time. And I like this because this is basically Freeze's whole life so far in a nutshell. It is this to that. And that's basically all you need to know about Victor Freeze. Anyway, so the Joker comes back with Harley, real Harley, to her apartment. It's very normal. She's kind of moved on with life. She's on parole. And she puts herself back in the position of being his psychiatrist. Not formally, it's just that he comes in, he's clearly changed, he's clearly not himself, clearly vulnerable, and she's immediately in the position of, oh, well, you know, she says, you're a narcissist who suffers from dysthymia and schizoid personality disorder. Now, narcissism is a personality type. Schizoid personality disorder is a personality disorder, and dysthymia, I think, just means rapid, uncontrollable mood swings. Because I know that cyclothymia is similar to bipolar disorder, and I think dysthymia is like either a lack of emotion or like way too much. You know, I'm just guessing here, somebody can correct me. I'll probably look it up after and we'll all know what dysthymia is together. Hooray! But anyway, my point is that none of these are mental illnesses. None of these would excuse him or give him the insanity plea or anything like that. Because a personality disorder is basically like a psychiatrist's shorthand for, you know, some kind of antisocial behaviour. But they can't call you an asshole, and they can't describe at length the way in which you're an asshole, so they, you know, not an asshole necessarily, but dysfunctional as well, because, you know, I'm sure you get nice people with personality disorders. But yeah, and the narcissist thing, well, that's not a disease either. That's not a mental illness either. So he has three things, none of which would excuse him for the crimes he's committed, in my opinion. But it does keep the question open of, in Arkham, if you were to be suffering from these things, it is indeed possible that that could cause a person to snap, of course. So we've got a beautiful, somebody told me go find a spiral staircase moment again, and I found several in this, but this is my favourite one. We have Harley here, and she's talking about how she fell in love with Jack Napier, not the Joker. The other Harley fell in love with the Joker, the maniac. She fell in love with, let's just say, Jack Nicholson, and watched him slowly turn into the Joker. And she's going on about being free, and so if you look at the eye line, it goes from here to here, and then nice and down in a curve, and it's all like really, look how much fun the gesture work is, and, you know, the laughing, and, you know, see how it's like that nice like wave motion, nice wave motion, and then bang, Batman's fist ruins all of it, and their beautiful little world is shattered of shooting at poor police officers. Yeah, Batman's, you know, presence just ruins everything, and he puts a quick halt to that. So through the eye line, it's very jarring to see, you know, bang, and then you know, they escape, and so that kind of turns it from a nice S bend into a zigzag, because they're then in the getaway car, and that brings you right back to here. And then Batman's in the background there, which I thought was great. And remember I said about the over-sexualized Harley? Well, this Harley is a lot more normal looking. Like, still attractive, but that is a kind of normal, attractive woman's body, and I kind of think that that's meant to reflect her mental state a little bit as well, if that makes sense. Like, the other Harley is Harley because she is like this over-the-top, histrionic, super sex machine, and this is just a normal woman who's been abused by this man. And she's going on about how, nothing, not really breaking new ground, but his love affair with Batman, which again, beautifully drawn. And she's actually, this is not two separate panels, that's actually another room, that's a doorway. But it has the appearance of a panel border, which makes her completely cut off from Jack in the colour scheme and the lighting as well. And you see what I mean about Hollingsworth? Everything kind of mushes together in this scene. But in this scene in the dark, everything seems to come to life. It's a bit odd, but yeah, there you have it. Ooh, Doomsday Clock. She says that, the reason she gave up with Joker was the Jason Todd thing. But again, remember, this is a retelling, and this is a sorry, it's not a retelling. It's a new story. It's an alternate story. So while this is happening the same way, what they say is they never found Jason Todd. And Joker is saying he doesn't remember a lot of what he did as Joker, or Jack is saying that. So we don't know what happened to Jason Todd, so that's going to be an interesting thing for later. But this is meant to be like his moment of transformation from the gangster Joker into the maniacal Joker. And Harley sees that and wants nothing more to do with him. And that's when she left and was replaced by Marion Harley, without the Joker even knowing. And what she did was, because this had verged into new territory, she actually got in contact with Batman to come and stop him. Him being the Joker, sorry. This is my other favourite moment of eyeline, because it's not quite an eyeline thing, but if you look at the Batman's dominance in this page, because it's the only page he really appears in as Batman, and it's constantly talking about the Joker, but you kind of forget about Batman, and he becomes this looming presence, and here he takes up almost the whole panel in comparison to this tiny little thing. And again, if you look at how big the bat signal is compared to him, it's like the thing of this is the symbol, and that's big and bright and shiny, but when you actually meet him, like, he's just this thing. And then you see what happened was Joker had disposed of Jason Todd. We don't know how or what happened by the time Harley can take bats to Joker, and Batman is like, he's lost it, and then sorry, lost my train of thought. Yeah, no, this is the eyeline thing, right? This is the part of the whole thing of Joker is now using the city's kind of good nature against it, because Batman was going to kill the Joker over Jason Todd, but Harley convinced him to send the Joker to Arkham instead, which he did. So this is the reason that the Joker is able to get out, was because no crime can be tied to him. He's not committed a time. Like, they can't charge him with kidnapping and murder if he kidnapped Robin, who is a vigilante, and he's disappeared now. Like, how do you, they can't do that without Batman outing himself, and even then they would never find him. You know what I mean? So, but here's the eyeline thing of Batman just ever present and completely stable, completely the one solid line all the way down the page, no matter where the Joker goes, until he's just replaced with this huge darkness, which is the city. So a kind of Batman representing the city, but yeah, even in Arkham, he's like just looming over the Joker, waiting to pounce, kind of thing, and he's always there, and it's a completely solid line, which gives this feeling of like stability and all that. So he feeds her the sob story of, oh, I don't remember any of this, and I'm on meds now, and this is just he's talking about how he wants the city to basically love him the way it loves Batman. And so this is actually possibly about jealousy. He's realised that Batman will never actually give a shit about him as the Joker, so he wants the city to love him and to hate Batman, so that he can take Batman's place as the hero of the city because of his narcissism. So that's my take on it. And because he's fed Harley this sob story, she has fallen for it again, and she is in the position of like the psychiatrist for a moment and is now in the position of being his accomplice, which then completes the cycle of abuse, the sort of domestic abuse cycle of like, oh, I've changed, I promise I've changed, look, I'm just a victim now, and then, turns out nothing's changed. So, this then, we get some Bruce Wayne out of costume again. Alfred's not any better, Freeze fucked up his experiment, so Bruce is not doing too well. And he's got to go to this ridiculous dinner party that he doesn't want to go to, and it's dinner time and everybody's rat-arsed, and he doesn't drink, obviously, and then Napier is on the TV. This is another one of these moments where they use the news for lots of exposition, really kind of unnecessarily, and it's covering up all this really lovely artwork, and you see how washed out this is. Like, again, Hollingsworth's art seems to come to life in the dark sections, but in anything involving like street lighting or daylight, it just looks washed out and muddy. But hey ho, and yeah, Smurf can't go without drawing a couple of cars, so he's done that. Joker's diatribe in this over the TV is basically about the 1%. And again, people unduly triggered by this because it's like they're like, oh my god, he's talking about the 1%, he's Bernie Sanders. And it's like, Sean Gordon Murphy isn't like saying vote Sanders. He is just, Joker's using this as a weapon. So this guy says that what he's been doing is he's been using Batman's, if people know Batman is active in a neighbourhood, the price of the housing goes down and he buys it for cheap, does it all up, gentrifies it, and sells it on for a massive profit. And Bruce Wayne has been oblivious to this for years, and he's like, so you're profiting from the Batman's war on crime? And this guy's like, yep, buddy, sure am. And Bruce Wayne, very out of character for him, beats up the man and his bodyguard. And I really hate the way he draws Bruce Wayne's face. It's my biggest complaint about this comic, actually, is like Bruce Wayne is just plain fucking ugly in this. Look at that, it's hideous. So, like, see from the side he looks good. And this is a brilliant panel because you see Batman just looming. If these people, like, kind of represent the people of the city, you see Bruce Wayne loom, a good double their size. It's like, look, who is in charge in this panel, We know who's in charge. Even when he's walking away, he's still twice the size of the other people you're seeing. And he's still looming, he's still in black. And his body language is still dominant. And it's like this thing of, they're all doubly terrified because they've just got this peek into how aggressive this man can be. But they don't know it's Batman or anything like that, but they've just gotten this little peek. So this bit at the end I don't have much to say about. It's basically Joker has assembled the Rogues Gallery. There's this thing of like he mind controls Clayface and then gets them all to drink pieces of Clayface by accident, and then he mind controls them by mind controlling Clayface, which is, I really don't like this, but I think it's just it's just a plot device that he needs to use to get certain things to happen. So Joker will be in charge of the entire Rogues Gallery, which I think is unnecessary, and I hope we're not just going to get the Rogues Gallery. I hope we're not going to just get like one episode equals one villain. I hope it's going to be much more subtle than that, but we'll see. And then, so that is the book. There was a lot to talk about, and I hope I've covered it quite well. There wasn't... I've had to go digging for a lot of this stuff. There wasn't much happened in this comic, as you've seen. I've had to do a lot of the explaining of it. A lot of it's very subtle as well, like or subtext or whatever. So I don't know if I'm quite as happy with this review as I was with the last one, but I think I've done a good job for you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a bit long on the long side. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the Joker's body count is like hidden, or like he's really that legally clever, or do you think that he genuinely hasn't killed anyone, or do you think it's a combination of like both, that because Batman has stopped him killing, like if Joker had his way he might have killed 100 people by now, but Batman has stopped him every time, which has made people think, oh, he's not that bad, whereas if Batman had actually just let him kill a couple of people would realise how awful he is. Which one do you think it is? What do you think of the politics? I think it's just the Joker's using all the weapons at his disposal. He's tried guns, he's tried the criminal underworld, and now he's trying politics. that's my thing. The pacing, I'm not happy with it. It's very disjointed, and it feels like he's getting this stuff out of the way so that he can really get the story going in the third issue. And this is going to take forever to upload. And tell me what you think about the Arkham situation. Do you think that Joker is telling the truth about he was okay before Batman put him in Arkham Asylum, or do you think he's just manipulating people again? And I like the metatextual part of that. Of, if you think about it, Joker was always a gangster, and then when the Arkham Asylum was introduced as a setting, that's the presence of Arkham actually changed what the Joker is. And if the Joker was driven insane in Arkham Asylum because of these so-called gatekeepers who wanted to keep crime going and keep Batman, lowering house prices and terrifying the shit out of everybody and God knows what else. That's just the first thing we've discovered. Then Arkham is essential to that happening. So let me know what you think about all that. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of this issue. Are you going to buy it? Did you like it? And I will catch you guys next time. Thank you and bye.